here with match 1 with... yeah, we can't keep this hand. This hand's perfectly fine. Back, I guess, Shark Typhoon. Obviously, we'd love to find one of our Stifle effects. It comes with turn 1 Thoughtseize, sure, whatever. Because, you know, the most ubiquitous card in the entire damn format. But so we're up against a version of It's like, I'm going to wait until you tap out. Which means we are very much dead here, so... Opponent will inevitably have Grisfang here and just kind of smoke us. Oh, they don't, surprisingly. Okay, so they are a graveyard value deck of some kind. That's for 3, sure. And that's for 5. Sure. Put us to 6. Okay. Untapped land would have been decent for us there. Okay, actually Rafine being a demon's kind of decent for them. I was going to say, if you turn around to hit me with another Thoughtseize, I'd be like, why did you take so long to figure that out? We are definitely in danger here, but this is the point in time where the deck starts getting stupid. So. Sure. Mm-hmm. Sure. Memory Deluge. Cycle. Alright, this is actually where things get a bit tricky. Sure. Mm-hmm. Do you have a fatal push? It really looks like you do. Yeah, that's kind of annoying. Do 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 do. So whatever. We gained a little bit of life there, but boom! Alright, so 4 copies of Lotus Sanctity. A bunch of Shark Typhoons, whatever. That's whatever. Those cards. Try like that, I guess. So the only real update to this list was the Dromokas. It's been a while since I've touched this list, honestly. It's a list that is somewhat slow against the aggro decks and somewhat poorly positioned against combo. It's really only good against mid-range decks. Control matchups even a bit sketchy, so this is very much a meta call deck in some regards. Kind of a risky hand, but keep it. I remember down in Houston, we were putting on a show. Cowboy in the back and up and yelled, "Hot, hot Joe." Yeah, that's called a line of sanctity. You have to finishing verse it. Okay, and do you have the actual nut draw this time? Possibly. We have the nut draw, we're not beating it, so it's whatever. Honestly surprised I didn't have the nut draw last time. Okay. All right. Yay! Not the smartest hand to keep. Come on, give me a land, give me a land, give me a land. Woohoo! Okay. Grisfang. That's an interesting thing to Dovin's veto. Okay, put us to 7. Shocker, you have a thought seize. It's like, I can't beat any of these cards. Which ones do I take? Another Dovin's veto? No. So what is the stick on their side of things? I mean, if they ever draw a Grisfang, we are so dead. This fracture deal with exactly? Artifact, creature, enchantment. Sure. Let's do the time walk again. Match number 2. I do think this is my favorite deck that I've ever worked on, and while I didn't like invent this archetype by any means, I do think the changes to this deck I really liked, and I do feel this build's kind of my own in some regards. So, like the addition of Up the Beanstalk to the list, I think were some of the additions that other people made, but like the versions with like you know, up to the 80 cards with Yorion, some of the other stuff going on with it. So, and might be up against blue-white control, possibly. Just definitely not the best of matchups per se. Land drops. So we need to blue mana a bit more. I mean, we're not doing anything else this turn, so let's just go ahead and cycle this. Mm-hmm. It's like, wait, what's going on over there now? Mm-hmm. Yep. Sure. Let's just go ahead and move on. Zeta in, Dromoka in, these in, those in. This doesn't do much. Marches could have some applications potentially, but Strict Proctor doesn't do much in this matchup. Again, a lot of our sweepers don't do much. Let's bring those back in. Go down. Niv was a little bit better theoretically against control, but sand is fine. Go. Mm-hmm. Opponent will inevitably have much counter spells, so untap land, please. I mean, it's a land. Play a game of chicken. You hold up 3 lands, I hold up 3 lands. That was dumb. Why did this stupid auto tapper do that? Mm-hmm. Manual tapping it is from now on. Notably, our opponent has found sources of card advantage. We have not. Have not found a Memory Deluge. Have not found a Teferi. Have not found... Okay, well, we found a Memory Deluge. Sure. Thought Distortion would be a great card to draw. Okay. Two, three, four, five. Mm-hmm. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that one's kind of annoying. Nurse it and nurse it. That's an interesting choice. Okay, what you got over there, friend? Mm-hmm. Don't really particularly care about the map token. Boom! Now we move on to a game 3. Go out the random bugs on Arena. It's both the positive and the negative of this build is that it's pretty clean in and out what you're cutting, leaving in, etc. It's like, unfortunately, you have to win the game of Battle Cruiser Magic against them, so I think we can do better. This hand doesn't really do a whole lot. Yeah, this hand's pretty decent. Putting back Marsh Weather Woman Light for now. Maybe I should have played one of these lands, left the whatchamacallit land in play. No sense in jamming this when they could easily have something like Narset. Sure. some ways I don't even care if this gets countered. Sure. There's currently no basic land in play, so we get to play a game of chicken. Oh yes, we do. Three, four, so I have currently 6, 7 mana. So 5, 6. This deck just kind of goes, kicks into its stupor powers here. Nope. Sing a song about the heartland. Boom! Utility lands winning the control battle. Alright, so this deck some of you haven't probably seen in a while is Bant Tron, for lack of a better term. It's Bant Lotus Field. This deck was a spiritual successor to the blue-white X Lotus Field decks. Some people were splashing for Sylvan Scrying. I decided to add Up the Beanstalk because what control deck doesn't need a bunch of card draw? But basically, it's a 3-color mana base designed in the early game to get Sylvan Scrying and Up the Beanstalk, and then in the late game it kind of turns into blue-white Tron. For those of you not familiar with the modern format, that's more of a mana control deck, for lack of a better term, leveraging huge amounts of mana to take over the game. Your early strategy is to get a copy of Lotus Field into play, possibly a copy of Thespian Stage, eventually get a Teferi in play, and then just leverage a huge mana advantage, and from there just cast game-ending after bomb, whether it's sweeping the board, planeswalkers, creatures, forcing your opponent to skip turns. Once you get to the mid-game and have your kind of Teferi Lotus Field engine online, it's very difficult to die from there, as long as you can keep whatever edges your opponent has to kill you, like say hasty creatures or man lands, etc. This deck is very good once it gets to that point at surviving quite nicely. In terms of early interaction, 2 copies of Laydown, hence why you see so many planes in the early mana base. This is mainly for the fast aggro decks, which are terrible for this deck. Otherworldly Light and Get Lost, kind of a nice split, answering various different things. March of Otherworldly Light can answer man lands, can answer cheap creatures, etc. Sometimes you don't mind pitching some of your late game cards to buy you the time long enough. As far as the advantage this has over something like blue or regular Lotus Field, you are employing the Strict Proctor tech, which some of the Lotus Field decks have, and Discontinuity can stifle the trigger. It's a little bit tricky in Magic Online. You have to make sure you're either in full control mode or something, and then Discontinuity during your turn to deal with the trigger on this. And then, as I mentioned, Sylvan Scrying and Lotus Field give you 8 copies of the thing. Beyond that, Memory Deluge helps you bridge the Wandering Emperor, Memory Deluge and Teferi are your other card advantage engines besides Up the Beanstalk. And then you have your sweepers, 4 copy of Doomscar, which you can potentially foretell this on turn 2, sweep on turn 3, is your kind of your best strategy against the aggro decks. Farewell is just the best sweeper in the format if you're playing white. Onto Inversion is both a tap land as well as destroy all permanents, which one thing this deck could have problems with is resolve planeswalkers. And then Dream Trawler is just a generic way to win the game, gain some life, etc. And Shark Typhoon is a way to make some blockers, or potentially casting Shark Typhoon, making a bunch of Shark tokens, winning the game that way. The other way you win a lot of your games is Teferi Ultimate with your Discontinuities. You force your opponent to skip a couple turns, get this up to Ultimate, cast another Teferi at that point, and then just start exiling your opponent's permanents. And then your land base, you have 4 Temple Garden, 4 Irrigated Farmland, 4 Hallowed Fountain, 4 Sparus Headquarters. This all plays into your laydown arms. Also, you have a total of 8 cycling lands, 4 Irrigated Farmland, 4 Sparus Headquarters. Help you dig a little bit deeper into your game. And then 2 plains, 2 islands to be able to get when your opponent's Field of Ruining, etc. Castle Vantress, get a little bit of card selection. Castle Ardenvale, way to win the game. Otawara and Boseiju, random ways to deal with permanents that can otherwise be problematic. All the Storm Giants, another way to win the game. Thespian Stage can copy your opponent's key lands. We didn't really play the true Thespian Stage game with copy a basic land your opponent can't Field of Ruin you, which I should have done against that last game against Blue-White. Just copied that and then forced them to kind of go from there. But, this isn't as critical of an interaction as it is, say, in the combo deck. Sideboard's a little bit weird. Obviously, your Yorion deck being 80 cards. Dovin's Veto is a couple of anti-control, anti-combo things. 3rd and 4th copy of Shark Typhoons and your kind of control matchups, mid-range matchups. Thought Distortion for your combo and control. Ether Gust. This is the one slot that was probably the most flexible. This is the additional early interaction you bring in against the early aggro decks. Basically, you choose whatever the best, if Spirits is in a hole, then you bring in anti-Spirits cards, things like Mystical Dispute, etc. If you're up against, a bunch of red and green aggro decks, or when this deck was a thing, the mono-green Devotion, you bring in a little bit more to slow them down. Leyline Sanctity, I hate getting Thought Seized, and Thought Seized is kind of one of the most played cards in this format. So I just have 4 copies of Leyline Sanctity. Then Dragonlord Dromoka is just kind of your anti-counterspell Good against aggro card. So basically, this deck is set up to where you can board out, you know, a bunch of your sweepers, bring in your Dovin's Vetoes, your Shark Typhoons, your Thought Distortions, and your Dragonlord Dromokas against the control decks, or against the control and combo-ish decks. Against the Rakdos decks, you're bringing in Leyline, cutting maybe Strict Proctor and some other stuff, and so on and so forth. So you have a bunch of 2-0s other than your Leylines, mostly designed to kind of shave around, you know, which cards you feel are like the worst in the matchup. And you do have a decent number of ways to win the game with Wandering Emperor, that's Shark Typhoon, Man Lands, Dream Trawler, and then some sideboard options, and obviously Yorion beats potentially. This deck is mainly just a card advantage and mana advantage machine, so, you know, naturally kind of preys on the blue-white X decks and also preys on the Rakdos decks. It's okay against Phoenix, kind of struggles against the hard combo decks, whether that be Grease Fang, the Rakdos aggro deck, those kind of things. So anything with a bunch of hasty creatures, tempo decks like Spirits, or, you know, dedicated combo decks, this deck has issues with. So you trade off some things to have a pretty good mid-range matchup. One other matchup it used to play quite well against was the Enigmatic Incarnation decks, which obviously kind of disappeared at the moment. But, you know, Farewell was kind of a devastating card against the deck that's trying to put a bunch of crap on the permanents on the battlefield. So anyways, if you like Pioneer content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. See you for our next video.